Warsaw, 1883. Russian Empire controls Poland. The universities are closed to women, by law, by force, by design. A 15-year-old girl sits in a secret classroom, underground, illegal. If discovered, the teachers go to prison. She takes notes anyway. She memorizes everything. She will not stop. 50 years later, that girl will have done something no human being in the history of the world has ever done before or since. She will win the Nobel Prize. Twice. In 2 different sciences. But they will try to take it from her. They will call her names. Question her right to exist in the room. Attack her life. Demand she stay home. She will go to Stockholm anyway. Dine with the king. Accept her prize. And return to her laboratory the next morning. Her name is Maria Skłodowska. The world knows her as Marie Curie. And this is what they never told you about her. If they did, you can too. The woman they tried to erase. How Marie Curie refused to disappear. Let's go back to the beginning. November 7th, 1867, Warsaw, Poland. Under Russian occupation, Maria Salomea Skłodowska is born into a family that believes in one thing above everything else, the power of the educated mind. Her father is a mathematics and physics teacher. Her mother, a principal. Learning is the religion of this household. But the Russian Empire has other ideas. In Warsaw, Polish cultural and educational institutions are being systematically dismantled. Repression is everywhere. Community alliance. And for women, there is an additional wall. Denied university access in Poland due to her gender, Maria self-studies, works as a governess. Earns money, saves, dreams. Women's voices. Now. But dreaming is not enough, so she does something extraordinary. To circumvent the gender restrictions of the time, she participates in the Flying University, a clandestine institution that provided higher education to women in Warsaw. Encyclopedia MDPI Underground. Illegal. Moving between apartments to avoid detection. Think about that. This young woman is risking imprisonment, not to overthrow a government, not to start a revolution, just to learn physics. Just to learn. The world in 1880 has a clear message for Maria Skłodowska. You do not belong here. Science belongs to men. Universities belong to men. Discovery belongs to men. For centuries, men had excluded women from participating in science. Women were deemed biologically inferior, unfit to participate. The participation of women in science was seen as frivolous and inconsequential. Colby College. But Maria is not interested in what the world thinks she deserves. In 1891, she boards a train to Paris. She is 23 years old. She has almost no money. She speaks French imperfectly. She knows no one. She faces additional difficulties due to financial constraints. She takes on multiple jobs to support herself while continuing her studies, often enduring difficult living conditions. Unirad. She lives in a tiny, unheated garret. Some winters, the water freezes in her wash basin. She faints from hunger in lectures but keeps taking notes. And then, something extraordinary happens. In June 1893, she earns her license in physics. First in her class. In July 1894, her license in mathematics. Second in her class. Community Alliance first. In her class. At the Sorbonne, where she was not supposed to be. This is where she meets Pierre Curie. A brilliant physicist who sees her not as a woman in a man's world, but as a scientist, an equal, perhaps the greatest scientist he's ever encountered. They marry in 1895, and together they begin to change everything. Before we follow Marie into the laboratory, if this story is already hitting different today, on International Women's Day, hit that subscribe button. Every Sunday, we bring you another human being who refused to accept the world's limitations. If they did, you can too. Now, let's go into the laboratory, because what happens next is going to stun you. 1897, Paris. A converted shed, leaking roof, dirt floor, inadequate equipment. Marie Curie is working on her doctoral thesis. She needs a subject no one has claimed. She finds one in a footnote. Henri Becquerel has noticed something strange about uranium. It emits rays, invisible energy coming from nowhere. No one knows what it is. No one is studying it seriously. Marie decides, this is mine. What follows is one of the most grueling research campaigns in the history of science. Existing scientific methods are insufficient for isolating radioactive elements. Through meticulous effort and pioneering technique, she works to extract elements from ore, a process that requires moving and processing tons of raw material. Unirad tons, with her bare hands, in a leaking shed. She coins a new word for what she is discovering: radioactivity. Radioactivity. She is not describing someone else's concept. She is naming a force she discovered herself. In 1898, she and Pierre discover the first new element. They name it polonium, after her stolen homeland, Poland. A second element emerges from the data: radium. The work to isolate it will take 4 more years, processing thousands of kilograms of pitchblende with her own hands. The shed fills with chemical fumes. Her fingers are perpetually burned. Her health begins to deteriorate. Neither she nor Pierre yet understands why. They are working with radioactive materials every single day. The radiation is slowly destroying their bodies. They keep going. 1903, the Nobel Committee is ready to award the prize in physics. But there is a problem. The original proposal transmitted to the Nobel Committee by the French Academy of Sciences contains only the names of Henri Becquerel and Pierre Curie. Marie's name is not there. Only after Pierre himself insists, demanding her name be added, does the committee include her. Cambridge Blogg, the man whose name was never questioned, fighting to give credit to the woman who did half the work. They are awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics jointly. Marie Curie is the first woman to win a Nobel Prize. Wikipedia. She is 35 years old. And this is where you might expect the story to become easier. It does not. In January 1911, Curie runs for a seat in the French Academy of Sciences and loses by a single vote. Conservatives argue that women belong at home. Women's voices. Now, the French Academy openly declares, a woman, whatever her intellectual qualifications, can no more become a member of an academy than the educated monkey for the same reason. Neither is human. AM. They say this about the woman who just won a Nobel Prize. Then, Pierre is killed. April 19th, 1906. A rainy Paris street. A horse-drawn wagon. A collision. He dies instantly. Marie is 38 years old, a widow, a mother of 2 young daughters, the greatest scientific partnership affirmable. Pantana Jimdi Arch, Curie Wara E Da Oni Ana destroyed in seconds. The sudden and tragic death of Pierre devastated the Curie family, but it invigorated Marie's determination to continue with their work. LOC, she takes over his laboratory, takes over his professorship at the Sorbonne, becoming the first female professor in that institution's history. She keeps working. Then comes 1911, the year everything tries to break her at once. In 1911, just before being awarded the Chemistry Nobel Prize, she becomes the subject of a media scandal due to an alleged affair. The public backlash is intense, fueled by xenophobia and misogyny. Encyclopedia MDPI. She is painted in the press as a foreigner, a homewrecker. Her reputation suffers tremendously. It almost prevents her from being permitted to receive her second Nobel Prize. LOC. They tell her not to come to Stockholm. She believes that her personal life has nothing to do with her work. She deserves to accept the prize. She will dine with the King of Sweden. ResearchGate. She goes. She accepts the Nobel Prize in Chemistry and she returns to her laboratory the next morning. But this story, this episode, is not just about one woman, because at the exact same moment Marie Curie is fighting to be heard in the laboratories of Paris. Another woman is fighting her own impossible battle. In Vienna, in London, in peace congresses across a Europe marching toward catastrophe. Her name is Bertha von Suttner, and what she is trying to do is stop a world war. Bertha Kinsky von Chinnik und Titau, born 1843, Prague, Austrian aristocracy, but with no money to match the title. She takes a position as a governess, falls in love, is forced to leave, answers an advertisement for a secretary and housekeeper in Paris. The employer, Alfred Nobel, inventor of dynamite, one of the wealthiest men on Earth. She and Nobel develop a lifelong friendship, corresponding frequently. There is little doubt that Bertha von Suttner played a major role in inspiring Alfred Nobel to establish the Peace Prize. Nobelprize.org, she works for him for only 8 days, then she elopes with her beloved Arthur and disappears to the Caucasus. But the friendship and the letters never stop. Her 1889 novel, Lay Down Your Arms, becomes one of the most influential books of the 19th century. She earns the nickname Generalissimo of the peace movement. Nobel's Fred Center Leo Tolstoy writes to congratulate her on the novel. The abolition of slavery was preceded by a famous novel written by a woman, H. Beecher Stowe. My God grant that the abolition of war will follow your novel. Aya Stutt. She keeps writing. She keeps pushing Nobel. She keeps saying, use your fortune for peace. In January 1893, Nobel writes to her about a peace prize he hopes to found. After his death in 1896, his will shows he had indeed established it. Nobelprize.org. The Nobel Peace Prize exists because Bertha von Suttner would not stop sending letters. In 1905, she becomes the first woman to be awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Having been nominated every single year since the prizes began in 1901, Nobel's Fred Center. They made her wait 4 years. She took the prize anyway. Bertha von Suttner passes away in June 1914, only days before the outbreak of World War I, the war she had spent her entire life trying to prevent. Nobel's Fred Center. She never saw what came next, but we did, and we know she was right. 2 women, Marie Curie and Bertha von Suttner. Same era, same resistance, same answer to the world's no. They kept going. Now, back to Marie, because the final act of her story changes everything. 1914. The world Bertha von Suttner feared has arrived. Europe is at war, and Marie Curie does not retreat to safety. She establishes mobile radiology units, bringing X-ray technology directly to the front lines and helping doctors treat over 1 million wounded soldiers. AWIs, 1 million. She learns to drive. She drives herself to the front. She trains 150 women as radiological technicians. She builds 20 mobile units. The soldiers call them petites curies. Little curies. Let that land. The woman the French Academy said was not human enough to join their ranks is on the front lines of a world war, saving the lives of the men those academicians sent to die. Since 1906, and until her death, she hires 45 women in her laboratory, never practicing discriminatory selection among men and women scientists. Cambridge blog. She builds the Radium Institute in Paris. She builds a second one in Warsaw, her homeland, Poland, which finally has its independence. She raises her daughter Irene in her laboratory. Irene Joliot-Curie will win the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 1935, making Marie and Irene the only mother-daughter pair to have won Nobel Prizes. Wikipedia. The woman who could not go to university in Warsaw raises a Nobel laureate. In 1995, French President François Mitterrand orders the ashes of Marie Curie and her husband transferred to the Pantheon in Paris. She becomes the first woman to be honoured in that monument of great men, on her own merit alone. LOC, the institution that once said she was not human enough to join them, places her among the greatest humans who ever lived. Marie Curie dies July 4th, 1934. The cause? Aplastic anemia, a condition now understood to be caused by long-term exposure to ionizing radiation. The very force she discovered, the very work she refused to stop doing. Encyclopedia MDPI, she gave her life, literally, to her science. Her personal notebooks are still radioactive today. You need protective equipment to read them. They will remain radioactive for another 1,500 years. She is still glowing. Pause for just a moment. I want you to think about something. Marie Curie's notebooks are in a lead-lined box in a library in Paris. To read her original handwriting, you have to sign a waiver, wear protective gear, handle them with gloves. Her work is literally too powerful to touch with bare hands. Even 90 years after her death, what are you carrying right now that the world isn't ready to handle? Drop it in the comments. Tell me. What is the thing you know is true, that the world keeps telling you is wrong? Because here's what Marie Curie proves. The world doesn't get to decide your worth. Only your work does. Now, let's talk about what this all means for you. So, what do we learn from Maria Skłodowska, who became Marie Curie, and from Bertha von Suttner, who became the conscience of a civilization? Lesson 1. The system's no is not the final answer. Marie was not permitted to attend college in Warsaw, so she attended illegally. London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. She was not supposed to be at the Sorbonne. She finished first in her class. She was not supposed to win the Nobel Prize. She won it twice. She was not supposed to enter the Pantheon. She's there. Every door that closed became a wall she walked through. If the system's rejection is stopping you, understand this. The system was wrong about Marie Curie. It may be wrong about you too. Lesson 2. Your name belongs on your own work. The original Nobel Prize proposal did not include Marie's name. It took Pierre Curie insisting, demanding, that she be credited Cambridge blog. You do not need to shout, but you do need to make sure your name is on what you built. Your ideas, your breakthroughs, your contribution to this world. Don't let your work live in someone else's footnote. Lesson 3. One letter can change the world. Bertha von Suttner worked for Alfred Nobel for 8 days. Then she left. But she never stopped writing to him. Their abundant correspondence laid the groundwork for Alfred Nobel's introduction to the peace movement. She convinced the inventor of dynamite to use his fortune for peace. Nobel's Fred Center, the Nobel Peace Prize, one of the most powerful forces for good in human history, exists because a woman kept sending letters. What are you not sending? What conversation are you avoiding? What letter are you not writing? Send it. Lesson 4. The mission is bigger than the opposition. Bertha von Suttner said in 1912, "The one half of humanity that has never borne arms is today ready to blaze into this living palpable force, the principle of the brotherhood of man. Perhaps the universal sisterhood is necessary before the universal brotherhood is possible." Nobel's Fred Center. She said that in 1912, 114 years ago. She was talking about you, about today, about this exact moment. The mission is always bigger than the resistance you face. Marie Curie's notebooks are still glowing. Bertha von Suttner's words are still true. Their work is still alive. And the question is, what work will you leave behind that outlives you? This is the History Disruptors. Every Sunday, we bring you another story of how humans faced impossible crises and found breakthrough solutions. Because history isn't just about the past, it's a blueprint for your future. Maria Skłodowska was not permitted to attend university. She learned anyway, illegally, underground, in secret. She went on to win the Nobel Prize twice. Bertha von Suttner was told her ideas about peace were naive, ridiculous, unrealistic. She convinced the inventor of dynamite to fund a prize for peace, a prize that still shapes our world today. Both women were attacked. Both were dismissed. Both were told to go home. Neither of them went home. Today is March 8th, 2026, International Women's Day. And we did not choose to honour all women by being quiet. We chose to give one woman a voice loud enough to honour all the others. Marie Curie said, "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more, so that we may fear less. If they did, you can too."